from across the world on YouTube, and welcome to this station nationwide. This is Resonate the Sound. I'm Chris Heineken. Oh yeah, by the way, like the video, subscribe, chat, then ring that bell, ding, ding, ding. That way you won't miss anything. Especially tonight. For some that do know, and then for some that don't know, along our stations and all that, I host a program, a secular program called MCW Defiance. MCW wrestling shows and all that based out of Mid-Southern Championship Wrestling in Osceola, Arkansas. And I host that program every single Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. That's just on this station, but also globally on YouTube. I host that program every Saturday morning. And I've been inside pro wrestling for literally over 33 years. And I mean, literally like right before my 4 days before my 5th birthday. And as a professional broadcaster, been doing it. It's been a long time. 28 years. But a portion of those years, 10 of them to be exact, I've been right here on this station. Whether it's strictly OCW to now MCW Defiance. And the point I'm getting at is, whenever folks watch wrestling shows or when they watch anything sports related, okay? There's always a couple of things that people watch when they go back and take a look at something. Like, for example, if some people want to know how to beat a team, they will go back and watch footage and find out their weaknesses. How to beat them with this strategy or this play. For pro wrestlers, is go back and watch tape and how to defend against this hold, this suplex, this submission, hold, so forth. How to play defense, and how to counter defense with offense. How to surprise them with the 3 count that doesn't really resonate to them until the 3 is told. How to catch them off guard is what I'm trying to say. Well, tonight on Resonate the Sound, we're literally going to take everything I said and we're going to put it inside of a different light from a spiritual perspective. In fact, let's go inside the infamous Resonate Church, and Pam Hovis is standing by. And tonight, we're gonna dive deeper into that subject with something called hidden weaknesses. You need to take notes on this one. It's gonna be good. Pam Hovis, it's all yours. It's all good. I'm speechless. I'm blown away by this because I know it's gonna be awesome for everyone watching at home. Pam Hovis, it's all yours. Go get her. Let's go resonate!
I pulled against her, and then she pushed in on my knee and was trying to see if I had any resistance. And she got over to the left side, and I thought to myself when she told me to push her hand in, push my knee in, and I thought, oh, that wasn't even close to what I was doing on the right side. And I had a weakness I didn't even realize that I had. And you all understand that when my sermon is called A Hidden Weakness. But the Lord began to deal with me about that, and there was weakness in that left leg that I was unaware of. Yeah. It didn't keep me from walking, didn't keep me from running, didn't keep me at all from picking up Nathan and running around with him, nothing. But when I sat down and began to describe the pain in my back and how my leg was going numb, and she said, yeah, we need to check that out. She said, you weren't like this last time you came, and I had just been there a month ago. And I said, how could that have escaped me? How could I not know that I had a weakness in my left leg to the point that I couldn't push my knees together against her hand for anything. And I thought, Lord, isn't that funny how that sometimes we're unaware of our own weaknesses?
Yeah. Yes.
We don't like to admit that we're weak. And the expression, play to your strength, is all about focusing on how well we do. And if people actually saw us for who we really are on the inside, including all of our struggles and all of our flaws and our insecurities, it would change their perception of us.
Yeah.
Just like going home and telling Maddie that I had to go have for an MRI and had to tell her that I had no strength in that left leg, and she just looked at me, and almost to the point that I was ashamed and I couldn't have done anything about it anyway. It's not working.
Yeah.
But I didn't want her to know that I had a flaw in my physical body, because then she would mother me, and I'm the mother. And she would be worried about me playing with Mason, and I'm going to play with Mason. And so I thought, isn't that how we are with the Lord sometimes? We want to hide the things that we're not good at, or the things that somebody might not like and won't like us because of those things. And so there are insecurities, and we don't want anybody to know about them. Because if they saw them, they wouldn't think the same of us. Well, I want you to know I have some of those. I would imagine some of y'all do too. You know, our weaknesses may be hidden from you, from everybody else, but God knows them. The Lord doesn't look at our outward appearance, but He looks at our heart. In 1 Samuel 16:7 says, "But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth, but for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart." You know, I was thinking about the Breaking Bonds boys who come here every Wednesday night, and I began to think, if you were to look at some of them, you would think they've had a hard life, and I wonder what they're going through. But you have no idea what the Lord's doing on the inside of them. You can't see how they feel on the inside. They can't, you know, if you ever seen a veteran or a veteran, and this came to my mind, and don't ask me why, but have you ever seen an old dog who's been in some fights, and they have the scars, but they're the most loving dog? And I thought, Lord, you know, some of those boys are the same way. They've been through things, Sister Tina. They've gone through things. You and I have gone through things that have hurt us, that have scarred us, things that sometimes we still hold in our hearts as to surrender to the Lord, and we don't want anybody to know that we still have to go to that, or that we still have frustration with things, or that we're still carrying around some baggage from long ago. And sometimes we think we have given it over to the Lord, and then when something pops up, we realize, that is still there. I haven't really surrendered it. And that's what I want to talk to you about, because that can be a weakness. You know, weakness is just an opportunity for God to work powerful in our lives. Even when the flesh fails and our hearts fail us, He is strength. He is the strength of our heart. You say, well, what do you mean when our flesh fails? Well, we know the Bible says we all sin and come short of the glory of God. It's easy to make those mistakes, to get mad and to fall down and hold a grudge or whatever it is, or to actually sin what everybody considers to be sin. But sometimes we hide things in our heart, figuratively speaking, that we never tell anybody about. And sometimes those things come out, and they become a weakness to us. Psalm 73:26 says, "My flesh and my heart faileth, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever." But no matter how often we fail, how many times our heart betrays us, our God is still our strength and our portion.
Always.
You know, the Bible is full of people who were weak at times, just like you and I. Whether it was Joseph, you know, he was boasting about how much his father loved him. And that led to his brothers betraying him. The Apostle Paul was beaten and thrown into a prison, right? That Peter denied Jesus 3 times.
Sure did.
Gideon knew that the Lord was going to use him for a great victory, but he was insecure about it and kept asking for a confirmation. You know, you got to remember though, out of all of that, Joseph became the governor of Egypt. Paul's letters are the biggest part of the New Testament. early church. And Gideon came out victorious. But they were weak at some point in their journey.
Yeah.
It can be comforting to know that the Lord is at work in our weakest moments and that He has a plan and a purpose. And that would have been a really good spot for Jeremiah 29:11. But I refrained. So I'm going to give you 2 Corinthians 12 and 9. And He said unto me, my grace is sufficient for thee.
That grace.
For my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me.
Yeah.
We forget that sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we go through things that are meant to make us grow, and sometimes they hurt. And sometimes we go through things where we're discouraged and disappointed, but we learn through those things.
Right.
Now, if we never go through those things, how can we help our neighbor next to us?
Good point.
They're not meant to destroy us. The Bible tells us flat out. They're not meant to destroy us. But we have to have wisdom in using those things and being an overcomer of those things that are hard for us.
Right.
In order for God's power to work in us, we must be submissive to Him. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty headstrong in my way of thinking, and I want it my way.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes it has to be God's way.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, I could be pretty bullheaded. I'll just be honest. I'm sure my husband would attest to that very loudly. Probably my daughter too. I want it my way, especially if I think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And sometimes we think we know what we're doing, but it's not God's plan for us.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we got it all figured out, and it has nothing to do with God.
Yeah.
We have to stop and realize that God has a plan.
Yeah.
And sometimes things are good, sometimes things are bad, and sometimes He's just wanting us to realize that we are not as strong in Him as we think we are.
Yeah.
We have to make a change within us before God can, because He may have something great for you, but if you're not willing to make that change to achieve that, He can't do all He wants to do through you.
Yeah.
One of our most comforting promises is that He will always be with us. And we have that promise in Matthew 28 and 20, which says, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, and even until the end of the world.
Yeah.
Listen, He always goes with us, even when it's the darkest hour. When we're
Right.
making the hardest decisions of our life. When we're making the decision of how we're going to discipline our children, or how many friends we have to cut out of our lives so that we can still be faithful to God.
Yes.
Right.
Sometimes we have to make a stand with a spouse who won't go to church with you, who doesn't know who Jesus is. But if you are not submissive to God, He can't turn that around for good. You have to be willing to move. We have to be confident in this, because He is the truth and the power to us. Our power to us, to turn to Him in our weakness, in our weakest moments. John 14 and 6 says, Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man cometh unto the Father but by me. But we have to go to Him.
Yes.
To get that power, to receive that strength, to get that encouragement when we're down and out and our best friend ain't helping the way we need the help, because what we need help is from God.
Yes.
Good point.
Yes.
You know, He's never going to leave us. Deuteronomy 31 and 8 says, and the Lord, He is that doeth go before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be dismayed. And why would He have to tell us that? Because sometimes we get in our own head, and we want to figure it out our own selves. And then we get dismayed or discouraged or upset because it ain't going just the way we had it planned out to go.
Yeah.
But that can become a weakness to the point that it hinders you. And it's a hidden weakness.
Yeah.
When you're ashamed of knowing who Jesus is, when you're around your friends at school, or you're ashamed to say, I go to church on Sunday, that's a weakness.
Yeah.
That can turn into a death sentence for you if you're not faithful to God and can say, Lord, don't let me be ashamed of you. The Bible says that if you deny Him before man, He will deny you before the Father. So we have to be careful of how we allow our weaknesses to affect our lives.
Yeah.
Now don't get me wrong, all of us have a weakness. We all have them. But how we deal with those weaknesses determines what we are in Jesus Christ.
That's right.
It determines how we affect those lives, the people that are around us every day. But God can also use those weaknesses to glorify Him.
Yeah.
Matthew 11:28 says, "But come unto me, all that ye that are labor and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light."
Yeah.
So by turning to Him when we're weary, we can experience the strength that comes from Him, and only from Him. Because His yoke is easy and His burden is light.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I didn't understand what that was, and I had to have Dad explain it to me. And he used to talk about how the oxen had a yoke, and they used that to control the oxen where they went. And some oxen were kind of like me, bull-headed and stubborn, and so, they were pretty stout, because an oxen is pretty stout, and so the yoke had to control them. You had to be able to apply that pressure to control them.
Yeah.
The Lord said His yoke is easy. He's not somebody who's just going to say, "You're going to serve me," or else. He's not a tyrant. He's not somebody who is proud of the fact that He reigns over you. He's not somebody who enjoys that authority He has over you. His yoke is easy. He wants you to serve Him because you want to serve Him.
Right.
And that makes Him a great and kind God.
Absolutely.
In what area of weakness you find yourselves, whether it's ourselves or our circumstances, the Holy Spirit is here to help us with our weaknesses. Romans 8:26 says, "Likewise the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, for we know not what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit itself maketh intercessions with groanings which cannot be uttered. And the grace of God is sufficient and made perfect in our weakness."
Absolutely.
I've thought, Lord, how many times when I've not known what to pray, I laid in my bed and cried and said, "God, you're just going to have to take care of it." I'd be driving down the road and say, "Lord, I don't understand this, but you're going to have to take care of it."
Yeah.
But we have to believe that His grace is sufficient. Sometimes our weakness comes from our unwillingness just to give it to Him. And sometimes our weakness comes because we haven't really applied ourselves and given our time to Him so that we can study to show ourselves approved.
Good point.
We haven't given and studied enough so that we have the Word upon the tables of our heart. You have to study the Word to know the Word. It's not enough to say my dad was a minister and I know what he preached all these years, and I could have said that easily and fooled a lot of people. Because I knew the Word and had it pounded into my head for years and years. Because, that's all we did. We went to church. But living it was different. And the Bible says you have to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. So just because your mama is a holy saint doesn't mean you are.
Good point.
Just because He's a forgiving God doesn't mean that you still don't have to call upon Jesus and ask for forgiveness.
Right.
Just because He's a loving God doesn't mean He's not that He's not going to chastise you when you're doing things that you know are wrong.
Right.
See, when things are wrong and you know you're doing it, that's willfully sinning.
Yeah.
And you will have to make things right with the Lord when you're in that situation.
Absolutely.
But sometimes out of our weakness, we don't want anybody to know, so we're ashamed to go to the altar. We're ashamed, that's funny to me, how you can't go to the altar and talk to God when He loves you more than anybody. But we'll talk to everybody else about it. And then we can't understand, and then we grow afraid because they know what I've been through.
Help us,
They
Lord.
know what I've done. And we're ashamed to go up and talk to the Lord. Well, I failed again, Lord. Well, you know what? I failed lots of times. But I've never failed and went back to the Lord that I didn't find Him. But I have failed and talked to friends before and found out that they talked to everybody else about it, so the whole town knew about it anyways. I might as well just went to the Lord and talked to Him. Because let me tell you something, if somebody loves the Lord and they love you, they're not going to talk about it.
That's right.
They're not going to go confess it to everybody else so that everybody in town knows about it. They're going to get on their knees and start praying for you. And some of us have a weakness of not caring about the other. Some of us have a weakness where that our only desire is for what it's going to get us. If you want to go and tell everything somebody has given to you in confidence, then you have a weakness and you're not serving God who has forgiveness. John 1:16 said, of his fullness have we all received, and grace for grace.
Grace for grace.
Grace for grace. I had thought, Lord, how beautiful is that? Because we have all received of the Lord. He is faithful and kind to all of us. He's just to all of us.
Absolutely.
And the only thing that keeps us from receiving grace to grace is when we think we can take care of it ourselves. Or we have that weakness where we just want to hide it. You know, we can name all the weaknesses, and most people want to link all those weaknesses to sin, like, oh, he was an alcoholic and that's his weakness. Okay, it is, but by the grace of God, he can overcome that. You know, he was a drug addict, and there's always going to be that draw. Well, there will always be that temptation there, but if you're an overcomer in the Lord, you can defeat that.
Absolutely.
You don't succumb to it. But there's also weaknesses in you and I who've never done any of that. Where we want to judge somebody, that's a weakness. Where we want to be, I was going to think about how I wanted to say that. If we're not careful, we can have a weakness within us where we're not good enough, where I can't sing as good as somebody. Sister Russell spoke the other night at the women's rally, and she said, we all feel like we're not good enough. We all think somebody else could do it better. We all think that, there's no way that's ever going to happen. And she said, but you have to stop and think about who you are. And I'm a child of the King.
Absolutely.
Things haven't always gone the way I wanted them to go. My ministry hadn't ran the way I always wanted it to run. There's been times when I've been disappointed by those in leadership. There's been times when I've been disappointed by family. But I couldn't allow that disappointment to become a weakness in me to the point that I lost out with Jesus.
Yeah.
Or that I lost my ministry because I just couldn't focus on the Lord and I was so focused on that weakness. So I'm challenging you today to stop for just a minute and think about what weakness you have that's hidden. That one thing that you think you got buried deep enough that it won't come up, and then it comes up. That one thing that keeps you from studying the Word of God. That one thing that keeps you from selling out to Jesus. Maybe it's that one thing that could keep you from being the next healing ministry that's going to go through our country. We have to stop and think about those weaknesses, because if we don't look at those and seek those out, we can't ask God for help in them. But don't be ashamed that you have a weakness. Learn how to call upon the Lord and go through that weakness so that you can help somebody else. He used those great weaknesses of Paul. He said, well, that was a weakness. Well, he was thrown in jail and he was beaten. He was weak physically. Gideon was weak because he had doubt. He wanted to believe what God could do through him, but he had to have confirmation. Lord, please give me a sign. Okay, Lord, give me another sign. How many times have you and I done that? And, we often think about Peter and how weak he was. He walked the earth with Jesus. But then, when he was walking on the water to him, he took his eyes off of him. He gets ridiculed a lot because, come on, Peter. But let's think about it. How many times have we been Peter?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
When something was attacking us, or when we fell short, or we got to looking at everything going on in our lives instead of looking to the Lord, and next thing you know, you don't even want to go to church.
Yep.
See, that's how the enemy attacks that weakness. That's why we have to seek out those hidden weaknesses and give them to the Lord. And then turn those hidden, I can't even talk today, weaknesses into a way to testify to somebody else. I could testify all day about Jesus and the great things he's done for me. But if I never told Maddie about the weaknesses that I have, she would never know in her life how she can call upon Jesus for those weaknesses. Don't be afraid to seek them out. Be honest about them. Don't be ashamed of them. But just remember to give them to the Lord and let him use them for his glory. We all have them, but we don't have to allow them to hinder us. We've all fallen short. And we all know there's that one thing that really gets under our skin, and that's your hidden weakness. You say, well, why would you preach on hidden weaknesses today? Because it's those hidden things that come back that the enemy can try and take us out with. And we need to be aware of them. Just like I wasn't aware that I had weakness in my left leg, and I probably never would have said anything about it. I knew my back hurt. I'd just be careful about what I was doing and not lift up on Mason so much, or I wouldn't move the furniture around, and never thought anything out, and never known truly what that weakness was doing to my physical body. So you say, well, what's it doing to you? Well, I have vertebrae that's laying right on the nerves. And if God doesn't intervene, I'm going to have back surgery. But see, I had those symptoms all along, and I ignored them. And I kept them to myself because I'm mom and I'm not supposed to get down. And, and there's no sense in worrying about it. It's going to be fine. Do I have faith that God can heal me? Yes, I do. And if He doesn't heal me, He'll bring me through. Yes. And then I'll be fine. But I couldn't keep it hidden anymore because my leg was going numb. You can't kind of hide that anymore. But just think about how the things that we do every day, that we keep in our heart, that numbs us to what God really wants us to do. Think about the actions that others have done, and we get frustrated and mad at them, and we say, okay, Lord, you take care of it, and I'll forgive them. But then, a week or two later, it's running through your mind, and you really haven't given it to the Lord. Yeah. It's those things that sneak up on us, and if we're not careful, will allow a door to be open for the enemy to destroy us. And we can't have that. But we can take those hidden secrets, and we can turn them into a testimony. Let me tell you what the Lord did for me. I thought I had it hid deep down in my heart. I thought it was taken care of. But it rose its head up the other day, and I had to fight with it again. That means we can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Yeah. Because the Lord says He will never leave us nor forsake us. Yeah. And that if we need anything, all we have to do is ask. But if we don't ask, if we don't recognize we have a weakness, if we're not willing to surrender that weakness to Him, if we're not willing to do that, then the Lord can't work in us. That's right. And we can't expect Him to do something we're not really... have you ever heard somebody say, I really want the Lord to do this in my life, I want to do that, and the Lord tells them, well, you need to study more. Get up at 5 o'clock, start studying. Or He'll say, you need to start going around other churches and go to revivals and get some more word in. But then when we get home from work, we don't want to get up and go to revival. Yeah. Or we don't want to get up early and study that Bible before we go to work. Or whatever it is. Or I'd rather watch the basketball game than, that's kicking into my hour of prayer. I don't need that. But then we wonder why we don't see the great things. And that's because we have a hidden weakness. And our weakness is we'd rather watch ball game than be serving the Lord. And I know I'm making light of that. But what's your hidden weakness today? Yeah. What's the weakness that's hindering you and causing you to not grow and advance, or to be as strong as what you could be in the Lord? So I just challenge you to stop and look at yourself and see what hidden sin, I'm preaching at y'all like that, weakness you have in your life. It doesn't have to be a sin. It could just be an area that the Lord wants to work in that you've not surrendered yet.
Hi everyone, I'm Cornbread Heineken, the Dean of Arkansas Sportscasters and host of Wrestling Excel. I want to say a special thank you for resonating to amplify Jesus with us here today. No matter where you are, if you're joining us live here at Resonate Church, whether you're joining us nationwide courtesy of your local syndicated television stations across the country, or if you're joining us internationally and globally courtesy of our YouTube simulcast. Thanks so much for resonating Jesus with us. Now, you're asking and you're saying, Cornbread, resonate. No, you guys always bless us, but we want to turn around and bless you through the act of worship called giving. How do we do it? Yes, we have multiple ways, 4 in particular, on which you can resonate your giving. Check it out. Number 1, join us live and in person here at Resonate Church at our brand new location, 3702 East Highland Drive It is directly across the street from All-Star Music in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Sundays, 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Wednesday nights at 6:30, and we do keep in mind, things scheduled subject to change. Option number 2, online. That's a little tidily thing right there. Use the term Resonate Church AR. That's right, everything right there on the screen. Resonate Church AR if you want to resonate your giving online. Just follow the directions and you can do that safely and securely. Option 3, the cell phone. Look, we all got one. Might as well use it, shall we? Want to resonate your giving using your cell phone? All you gotta do, text the word give to that number right there on your screen. Safe, fast, secure, easy, simple to do. Option 4, mailing. If you want to mail your contributions to us, courtesy of a check or money order, please make all checks and money orders payable to Resonate Church and send it to the address on your screen. Once again, if you want to resonate your giving courtesy of a mailing option, send your check or money order. Make all checks and money orders payable to Resonate Church and send it to that address on your screen. And those are the ways you can resonate your giving. And remember, show love, give peace, and say Jesus. Hey, what up, man?
What's up, buddy?
How are you, bro?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh my goodness. Woo! Man, just came out of Resonate, man. You know it's all good, man. Woo! And some of us talking about it. Hey, why don't you come join us?
Sundays, 10 a.m. Come join us.
Woo! Sunday night's scheduled to change.
Wednesday,
6:30, it's on.
Our women's ministry is strong and rooted.
our men's ministry has a solid rock foundation.
All the kids can have so much fun. So can you.
Our church is a great family church.
And your family will love it too. Come join us at Resonate.
Show love.
Give peace.
Resonate Jesus. Very encouraging, Pam. Wow. A whole lot deeper than what I thought. Appreciate you for that, Pam. Thank you. Now, I talked about the wrestling story in my opening monologue. And it fits along with this. There are those things that we really, let's just say they're kind of secret to us, and we don't want, and bottom line, we don't want everyone knowing. And then a lot of times we have stuff inside that everybody doesn't know. But here's the reality. God knows. God knows your weak points. He knows your strong points, he knows your weak points. In fact, God knows you better than you know yourself. You know, a lot of times, and of course, I know I'll mention this multiple times as far as wrestling goes. A lot of times when you come into a wrestling match with either kinesio tape on yourself, or, you know, on different parts of your body visibly, or if your ribs are taped up, or if your leg is taped up, or you're limping, your opponent always knows where to go after. He goes after the injured spot. He doesn't go after the spot that's not injured. He goes after the injured spot because your opponent knows your weakness. When Paul talked about in the Bible having a thorn in the flesh, it's a weak spot. In the greatest wrestling match ever, when God wrestled Jacob and God dislocated Jacob's hip, there's that weak point. For every weakness, there's a strength. Because whenever we're weak spiritually, that's where God's his strongest. He's always strong. He never changes. But every single time we're weak, he's strong. He knows our weaknesses and will literally a lot of times show us our weaknesses. Because he literally will show us multiple areas on which we need to improve our lives and be better at. See, that's how awesome and how great God is. Because he'll take the weakness and will use that weakness for his glory. That'll give you strength to go through and conquer any and everything that exists in your life. Fear, weakness. Doubt, weakness. Confusion, weakness. Worry, weakness. As I said last week, a lot of times we'll use our age, number-wise, our numbers age for weakness. We will use the fact that we're hunched over as a weakness. But by relying on God and trusting him, he said, hey, there's a lesson there in your weakness. Adversity is just a bridge. There's a lesson in your weakness. There was a lesson in Jacob's weakness when, bottom line, God dislocated his hip. There was a lesson here. And bottom line, even after the hip was dislocated and Jacob kept crawling back and said, I ain't letting go until you bless me. That means I'm not quitting. I don't care what my weakness is, I'm not quitting until you bless me. And what happened? World story. The country or the nation of Israel was born. Thanks to that wrestling match. A lot of the times we don't realize that wrestling with God will produce way more bigger results when we don't give up. Look at Saul before he became Paul. You realize he was in the spiritual wrestling match when he was blinded on the road to Damascus to persecute disciples, persecute believers of Jesus, and he was a member of the church. He wrestled it for a long time. And bottom line, his encounter and his wrestling match with God from a spiritual perspective birthed us him writing 2/3 of the New Testament. And New Testament actually starts with the book of Acts, not with Matthew. It starts with Acts. And Paul wrote 2/3 of the New Testament because of that encounter that he had with God. Let me say this to you. No matter what your weaknesses are, the enemy would rather for you to be down and to be out and to give up every single time you can't conquer a weakness. I want you to realize that God is your biggest cheerleader. He's the one that's keeping you rolling. He's the one that's keeping you going. And once you start realizing your value to God, and every single time you say, the joy of the Lord is your strength. Every time you rejoice and praise God, guess what? It brings the enemy down several notches to where he's back where he belongs, underneath your feet. as we said before, the sole of your foot, when it hits first, that's the ground you claim. When your heel is second, you bruise the devil's head. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Use your hidden weaknesses. Give your hidden weaknesses to God and let Him use your hidden weaknesses to show your true worth to Him. God, thank you so much for wrestling this out to us. Thank you at home for watching. Hey, ain't no service like a live wrestling service because a live wrestling service on Sunday. Watch you be left out. Join us live, Wrestling Church. Info on the screen, plus 4 ways to wrestling you give Him. We encourage you to take advantage of them. WrestlingChurchShowsworld.com is the other option. And on Pinterest, news, scoops, views, info, so much more. Facebook.com/Wrestling Church Jonesboro. And you're watching this program on the YouTube simulcast. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, then ring that bell. Ding, ding, ding. That way you ain't missing anything. Next month, we are in the month of November, folks. I'm sorry, we're in the month of October. I don't get ahead. And the reason why I did kind of bring up October and November is because we have a special series coming up that is really, really, really going to show you what your worth is. Living above your circumstances. We got it coming starting next Thursday night. Make sure you're with us, folks. It's going to be great. We always thank you for being here with us. God, thank you always for resonating your sound to us. Folks, I will go down right here next week as we open up the month of October with Living Above Your Circumstances. Join us this week, will ya? 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on our YouTube simulcast here nationally and globally. And 9 p.m. Eastern and Pacific, right here on this station and multiple stations nationwide. Join us, will ya? For everyone in Resonate Church, for our entire staff, and for everyone at Syndicated Media Television Partners Group, I'm Chris Heineken. We say to you, show love, give peace, you know it, resonate Jesus. Folks, we will see you in the month of October for Living Above Your Circumstances right here on Resonate the Sound. Join us, will you? Good night, Canada. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.